already have some people. Let's just wait for a few moments before we start. Okay, I guess we could begin. So if you can hear me correctly or if you can hear me properly, leave a like or a heart on this post and share it to your friends because you already have an ear for what we're going to be doing this morning. Okay, so welcome, good morning, welcome to the Mind Museum's Facebook page. I'm Mind Mover Aaron. I'm one of the resident science communicators and a resident biologist of the Mind Museum. So we'd like to welcome you to Mind at Home. So I apologize for the wind noise that you may hear since we're at the rooftop of our building here. Okay, so nobody else is around the rooftop, so social distancing measures are still being followed. Okay, so once again, welcome to Mind at Home. So this is our online series of easy science experiments that you could do at home with your friends and family. So the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that you do some activities that could alleviate your stress and anxiety that you may be experiencing during this pandemic. So we at the Mind Museum believe that while you're relaxing or you're alleviating your stress, why not learn a little bit of science for yourself at home? Okay, so for this morning, so we will be doing an experiment about biology. So you may think that why biology, or what kind of materials would we need to use, since biology is a rather broad topic. Okay, but actually we'll just be using very simple materials for this morning. So we will be doing experiments about sound, about what sound is, how we hear sounds, and how humans compare to other animals in terms of hearing other sounds in the world. Okay, so we'll first start with what is sound. Okay, so sound is actually a wave. So like the waves in the ocean, so it moves up and down, but you can't see it. Okay, so sound is actually a kind of mechanical wave. Okay, so mechanical means that it has to pass through a medium for you to be able to hear the sound. Okay, so if there is no air, say for example in outer space, you won't be able to hear any sound because there is no air. Okay, but it's not only air that you could use to hear sounds. You could actually hear sounds through solids, liquids, and gases, as long as there is something for the sound to pass through. Okay, so that's one kind of wave, which sound is a kind of mechanical wave. So there's another kind of wave actually. So it's called an electromagnetic wave. Okay, so it sounds like a big word, but it's actually just made of two words. Electro, from, you hear it from electricity, and magnetic, magnetism or magnets. Okay, so the most common form of electromagnetic waves that you can see is actually sunlight. Okay, so any form of light, including microwaves, radio waves, are kinds of electromagnetic waves. Okay, so how do we detect sounds? Okay, so I guess if you're hearing me through this live stream, one of your five senses is already working. So we hear sounds through our ears. Okay, so for this experiment this morning, we will be using our ears to detect sounds in a kind of different way. Okay, but before we start, so when we talk about mechanical waves, so I have here a slinky. So you usually use this to move it down the stairs, but here we'll be using it to demonstrate mechanical waves. Okay, so when you move a slinky, so it sags a little bit in this direction when you move it up and down, but when you move it left and right, so you could see that the orange and green portions are being compressed, or they're moving through the spring. So this is what actually sound does when it travels to your ear. So it moves the air, it compresses the air. Oops, sorry. Okay, so you may be experiencing a little bit of movement as well. Alright, so let me just fix that up. Okay, so I guess you're more alert right now if you got startled because of that. Okay, so mechanical waves move like that. They compress air. So when you hear the air, when you hear sounds, it's actually air that's being pushed inside your ears. Okay, so let's move to our experiment for this morning. So the materials you'll be needing are actually very easy. So it's just a blindfold, any blindfold, a handkerchief, a towel, or anything to cover your eyes will work, and anything that makes a localized sound. So here we have two kinds of coins. So these are two 1 peso coins. So I will not be doing this to myself, so we'll actually be needing volunteers for this, but since we can't come up with volunteers because of social distancing, so I brought in some of my family members to do our experiment with us. Okay, so we have here our sister Athena. Okay, so bring the chair with you. Okay, so say hi to our viewers on the page. Hello. Okay, so she'll be sitting down on this chair and she'll be wearing a blindfold. Okay. Alright. So what we're going to do is actually an experiment called, okay, so if you could see it, it's called sound localization. Okay, so it's a big word, so it just comes from the word localize or local, which is a specific place. So she has to find the sound where it's coming from while she's blindfolded. Okay, so that she won't know where we will be doing our sounds. So I have here one of my friends. So this is Binky the Bulldog. Okay, so we will be pointing out here through his head where we will be making the sounds. Alright. Okay, so we will be doing it over here, and over here. And we will also be doing it over here and over here. Alright. Okay, so since she has no idea, so but you guys at home know where we will be playing the 5 sounds. Okay, so let's try now what we will be doing. Okay, so could you stand up? Okay, and move back. Alright. Okay, so let's start with our first sound. Okay, now she has to point out where she thinks the sound came from. Okay, so point it out. Where do you think it came from? With your fingers. Where? At the back? Okay, so we'll tell her later if she's right or wrong. Okay, so let's now move to our next placement. Alright, point it out. At the back. Okay, so let's do it for our third position. In the front. Okay, now let's do our last 2 positions. Okay, point. Where? Left side. Left side. Alright, excuse me. Now let's do our last position. Okay, you can remove your blindfold. Okay, so you guys at home probably know that she did 3 places correctly. Okay, so when we reference her head, so she got it right when it was at the front, at the back, and at one of the left sides. Okay, but she did not get it where it was at the top, at one edge. So you move front, and then left, and then up, one over here, and then one over here at the back. So move right, move to the back, and then move up. Alright, thank you, Athena. You could step aside. Alright, so you saw with our experiment that she did not get all of the places correctly. But she has 2 functioning ears. So why do you think could that be the case? Okay, so I'll give you a few moments to think about why do you think she didn't hear those other locations correctly even though she has 2 ears. Alright, so what do you think could be the cause why the sounds weren't being localized properly? Okay, so I guess that's enough. Okay, so you might have noticed that actually human faces are symmetrical. That means the left side and the right side are mirror images or almost equally mirror images of each other. Okay, so that means both of her ears are in exactly the same place, both on the left and the right. Okay, so that actually poses a problem when you're trying to localize sound. Since when you're doing it here at the front, so the sound, since it's a mechanical wave, it has to travel through the air, it reaches your ears at the same time. So you won't be able to distinguish where it was on the left or on the right. So at the same time, if it's at the top, it would still reach your ears at the same time, because the top part here in the middle along this line, all of these places along this middle line are equidistant, or they're the same distance from both ears. Okay, so we try to localize sounds based on two things. So you may not actually realize it, but your ears and your brain, oops, sorry, let me just remedy that. Our phone is trying to take you on a roller coaster again. Okay, so what actually happens in your ears are two different things. So it locates. Okay, so let me just hold on to my phone. Alright, so what actually happens with your ears is that you use both time and pressure to locate sounds. Okay, so how do you use time? So we already tried it with our experiment. Okay, so we said that when you're in the middle of this part of your body, so the sounds reach your ears at the same time from the left and the right. So you won't be able to distinguish where the sound is coming from. And then the second one, as you can see here, it's about pressure. Okay, so actually, since we said that mechanical waves cause a compression of the air, so it causes changes in pressure between your ears. So your ears could use that as a clue to detect where the sounds are coming from. Okay, so this is actually very different from other animals. Like, say for example, for owls, say for example, if you have two symmetrical ears, you could actually see that the holes of your owl's ears are slightly different in height. So one is at the top, one is at the bottom, and then one is towards the front and one is towards the back. Okay, so they do this because, as you know, owls are nocturnal animals, so they hunt for things at night. So their sight wouldn't be very useful when they hunt at night. So they use their sense of sound or hearing so that they could detect where the prey, usually small mice or small rodents, are coming from. So that's why they could detect the placement of the mouse, on the ground, even if it's dark. Okay, so there's actually another animal that can move their ears. So they don't have asymmetrical ears, but they can actually move their ears completely. Okay, so I have here another special guest. So this is another family member of ours. Okay, so this is Petra, the Chihuahua. Okay, so if you could notice, so dogs can actually move their ears. Okay, so they can move their ears separately on the left and on the right. So when they hear something on the left, so they can move their ear up or towards the left side, and then their right ear can move it up and towards the right side. Okay, so she's not doing it right now because she just woke up actually. So she's very sleepy. As you can see, her eyes are already closing. Yeah, because of the wind. She loves the wind here. It's actually a bit cold here at the rooftop. Okay, so but dogs can move it. So aside from their ears expressing emotions, they can also help them localize sounds. But they don't use it as much when they're domestic animals because we give them food, right? So ideally, you should give them at the same time, so they don't need their sense of hearing as much, but they can hear all of the good things that you say to your good boys. Okay, so let's move Petra aside for now. Okay, so you saw that different animals have different methods for moving their ears to localize sounds. But why can't humans? Okay, so in biology, one of the main reasons for everything is actually evolution. Okay, so evolution causes mutations or changes in the DNA. So if you saw Mind Mover Mario's Mind at Home last week, so mutations can actually cause new things to happen with organisms. So we explained last week that the new virus that causes COVID-19 was due to mutations in the DNA. So same with us. So that's because of changes, it eventually happened that our ears are symmetrical. Okay? But there's actually one other explanation for this. Okay, so this term, so it's called sexual selection. Okay, so you may think this is a big word, but actually if you've seen birds dancing, so if you see the mating rituals of birds wherein the males compete with other males to get the attention of one female, so that's actually a form of sexual selection. So in birds, they say that the dance of the birds, if it's better with one male against another, they think that the better male that can dance has better genes and therefore would produce better children or offspring. So in the similar case for humans, what happens is that females think that symmetrical ears, those that are equally spaced on the left and the right side, have better genes. Males that are symmetrical have better genes. So that's why when they have fertile offspring, when they have babies, they think the babies are better than a person without symmetrical ears, or those that have unequal ears on the left and the right side. Okay, but the link for this, the exact mechanism why they think that these things cause better children, is not yet known. Okay, so we'll have to do further research on that, on why that's the case. Okay, so that's our experiment for this morning. So now we'll go through, not through a roller coaster, we'll now go through some of your questions that you have here online. Alright? So does the wind affect hearing? So actually yes, so it could cause confusion as to where one sound is coming from, since your ears are hearing a lot of things at the same time. But if you're placed in a very, very quiet place or a very quiet room, and we tried the localization experiment, it should work wherever you place it, except for over here in the middle, where the placement is still equal to both sides of your ears. Okay? Next question, does the same thing apply for all animals? Okay, so it depends. So for dogs, all dogs or all those that are similar to dogs like wolves and foxes can actually also move their ears. And then other birds, not just those that are predators, so even our local maya, the ones you see along the ground, they have asymmetrical ears. Okay, but they no longer use it for hunting, they use it to hear for the animals like the owl who could come to hunt them. Okay? So let's check for other questions. So do snakes have ears? Can snakes hear? Okay, so this is actually a very recent question. So if you've had one of our recent wild conversations at the museum with Miss Isa Garchitorena, so we always say that snakes cannot hear. So they can only feel vibrations on the ground. But new research has shown that snakes can actually hear very, very low frequencies of sounds. Okay, so low frequencies does not mean low sounds. Okay, so this means that they are actually they are low sounds, but they are too low that we cannot hear them. Okay, so to answer your question, yes, they can hear, but at a different level than us. So they can't hear our speaking voice, but they can hear other kinds of very low sounds. Okay, next question. So do echoing sounds affect our hearing like animals in a forest? Okay, so so this question is about the localization of the sound itself, right? So yes, it could cause confusion, especially if you're in a place that has a lot of echo. Say for example, a long hallway that has nothing. So the echo would bounce back to you. So for us humans, it would confuse us since we can hear the sound at the same time. But for other animals like bats, so they actually use the echo itself to locate the sound. So this is a thing called echolocation. So they sing out or they shout out a very loud sound, this time a very high frequency sound that we cannot hear except for bats. Bats can hear the high frequency sounds. So it travels, and since sound is a mechanical wave, it bounces back from, say for example, the mouse that they're hunting. So it reflects back to the ear of the bat. Okay, so when they hear it back again, they can use that data. This is actually the sixth sense of bats. So they use it to hear where the sound is coming from, and then they could hunt their prey. Alright, so next question. How does water affect sound waves compared to when sound travels in air? Alright, okay, so you saw, we explained that mechanical waves need something for them to pass through, right? Okay, so when you compare water to air, so there's a lot more water in the same space compared to air. So we say that water is more dense or denser than air. So since there's more particles for you to push, so the sound actually reaches your ears faster. So the fastest you can hear a sound is through solids, and then through liquids, and then through gases. Okay, so you could actually try this for yourself. If you have a door, have one person place their ear on the door, and then the other person could knock or to make a sound on the other side. So when you make the sound, when the ear is on the door compared to in the air, it should reach your ears faster. Okay? So do we have other questions? Alright, so if you have other questions, just leave them in the comment section below. So we'll be answering your questions even when this live stream is already over. Okay, so we'll be getting to your questions, and we'll also be re-answering the questions that we've answered on this live stream in a written form in the comment section below. Alright? Okay, so if you have no other questions for now, just leave them below. Try this experiment at home since it's very easy. But please remember to wash your hands since you're dealing with objects that are potentially dirty, like coins, which can be passed on to a lot of people. Okay, but actually, you actually really have to wash your hands even if it's not dirty. Okay, so wash it for at least 20 seconds every time, and practice still social distancing measures while we're under our enhanced community quarantine. Okay, so try out this experiment at home. Tag the Mind Museum on Facebook and Instagram if you try it, and let's see how well your friends can actually hear sounds when they're blindfolded. Okay, so we humans rely too much on our sense of sight that when we remove it, it's actually hard for us to detect sounds without it. Okay, so alright, so while we close it, so let's have Petra again over here. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this week's first edition of Mind at Home. Stay tuned to the Mind Museum page for another one. So we'll be having another Mind at Home on Thursday. So that's still at 11 a.m. here at the Mind Museum Facebook page. Okay, so leave your questions down below. We'll be answering them during the day. Wash your hands. Practice social distancing, and always stay safe at home with your friends and family while learning science as well. Okay, so thank you very much again for watching our Mind at Home, and we'll see you next time.